Boy, it's like a broken record, huh? It's like every Saturday, there's some segment about Bill Maher slamming the Democrats, and I've got to talk about it. Because Bill Maher is right. He slams the far left, he criticizes Bernie and Warren, and he even slams Joe Biden. Look, man, Bill, hear me out. If you're this frequently slamming the left, where does that put you? Well, I understand. Okay, he says in the center. I agree. He says that Howard Stern, he tells Howard Stern we're the last sane liberals because we don't go for all the BS on the far left. I can respect that to an extent. However, I'll give you some pushback. A little pushback to Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin jokingly made a thing that said the last liberal, based on The Last Jedi. It was a Star Wars thing. It was a joke. But a lot of people were like, how dare you say you're the last liberal? It was a joke, dude. Calm down. Bill Maher's obviously joking, but let's be real here. Joking aside, for one, every joke has its truth, but the truth is there are very few sane liberals left. We are politically homeless. Bill Maher, maybe you don't realize it, but you are like a prominent figure to the politically homeless. You don't represent, the Pelosi's, the Bidens, and you don't represent the Warrens and the Sanders. Where are you and who are you? I can't tell you anymore, man. Things are changed. Things have changed and they're very weird now. The space that I find myself in, where I've been a big fan of Bill Maher since I was like a late teenager. It's kind of crazy to me. I remember sitting at my friend's house when I was like 19, watching Real Time. Has it really been on that long? It seems not. That's crazy. Well, now we're in this position with a collapsing far left with Trump derangement syndrome, and Bill Maher, you're in this weird space. Let's read some of this story. They say, Bill Maher's quoted on his Friday night show saying, "You and I are the last sane people." Maher told Stern at one point in the discussion, because we're liberals, but we don't go for all that BS on the far left. Here's the thing. I think it's fine that he said to Howard Stern, but what I really want to talk about, he does criticize the president. Fine, I don't, by all means. But he goes on to criticize Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders as being too far left. Check this out. Maher also made the case that Democratic presidential candidates Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders were too far left to win the general election and touted Senator Amy Klobuchar as a dark horse who could potentially top the party's ticket. I'll entertain that possibility. I wouldn't bet on it, though. Klobuchar doesn't seem to have the X factor, the star power, but she is more moderate. I don't think she's going to be a breakout. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it comes to media attention. Now, Bill is giving Klobuchar attention, but let's not forget Amy Klobuchar ate a salad with a comb and threw. I can't remember what she threw. She threw something at one of her staff members, I guess, in a story. But I will tell you this: if you're the favorite, they give you the praise. If you're in any way an outsider, they will rip you to shreds. And that's actually what we're seeing with Tulsi Gabbard. Check this out. What exactly is Tulsi Gabbard up to? The New York Times. As she injects chaos into the 2020 Democratic primary by accusing her own party of rigging the election. An array of alt-right internet stars, white nationalists, and Russians have praised her. Bravo, bravo. I don't think Bill Maher is a fan of Tulsi. I don't know too much. But I'll tell you this. The New York Times will rip you apart if in any way they spot weakness, because it's not about what's true. It's about what they can sell. And when they see blood in the water, boy, do the sharks come swimming fast. When it comes to Bernie and Warren, they're fairly popular. These media outlets don't want to offend their audience. They're trying to attract a bigger audience. It comes to this. Joe Biden gets defended and criticized. Bernie gets defended and criticized. Warren gets defended and criticized. You get the point. In more establishment media circles, they're very much more likely to be like Biden or Warren. And they're very much negative towards Bernie. But Bernie has his allies in progressive media. I think what we're really seeing here, too, this whole picture with Bill Maher and these comments, is the divide, is the war on the left in the United States. So the point I'm trying to make here is the outsiders get attacked by the mainstream media. That's why Elizabeth Warren is being propped up and praised and rising while Biden goes down because of the scandal stuff. Let's read. Maher spoke to Klobuchar in a one-on-one interview. He argued that Klobuchar was plenty liberal, but could actually beat President Trump. She could, but the probability is really, really low, okay? Let's be real. Obviously, this is a fight between two wings of the party, which is almost every election. There is a center in the Democrat, a center left wing. You're plenty liberal, you're plenty progressive, Maher told Klobuchar. And then there is a far left, which I think would be represented by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Klobuchar would not address Warren and Sanders directly, but clearly dismissed their platforms and pushed her center left agenda. She said, "I want to win big, And if someone is looking to kick 149 million Americans off their current health insurance in 4 years, then I'm not your candidate. Yeah, she's taking a dig at the far left. Klobuchar said, if you want to use a bunch of hardworking people's money to send rich people's kids to college for free, and I'm not your candidate. And just because people say ideas are bold doesn't mean they're bold. They may be bad. Hey, bravo, Amy Klobuchar. I really respect that. Here's the thing. You hear all this stuff about free college. Why are we gonna take taxpayer money, which will predominantly be the middle class, to fund a tuition for the upper and lower class? I understand the idea of like, we're gonna take tax money and then pay for education for poor people. You know, there's a limit, right? Look, when I was at Occupy Wall Street, a group of people had these demands where they said, we want free college, free tuition, smaller class sizes. And I said, let me think about that. Free tuition. Okay, you go to school, you just go, right? Smaller class sizes. Let's do some math. If you open the door and say anyone can come in, what happens? The class sizes become bigger and bigger and bigger, especially when you're not paying for it. So how can you have smaller class sizes while welcoming in more people? Now you may argue, expanding universities, making more. Okay. How are we going to pay for that? How much are we going to put in infrastructure? And that's what they're talking about. Think about this. And I know this is actually a pretty sad argument, but here's the truth. When Bernie says we're going to give healthcare to everybody, when he says we're going to give education to everybody, it does invariably mean that some people, of course, that some people will now be without access. Yes, let me clarify. But now it could mean you. So here's the thing. Let's say you make $40,000 a year. Struggle to get by with your family. I'm talking about a family, right? Couple kids, house, you're making 40. Things aren't too great. Maybe you're in the middle of the country somewhere, but it's not bad. You set aside as much as you can, and the healthcare is expensive, but you can still get in. You get in debt. Your daughter's sick. You get in debt. It's unfortunate. I think we need to figure out how to solve that problem. That's a fact. It's also a fact that if we open the doors to literally everybody, there will now have to be a wait list for you and your daughter. The challenge is, right now we have a system that, in my opinion, is relatively broken. But the core tenets need to be there, need to make sense. The idea being that medical treatment, in my opinion, is not a human right because that requires mandating labor, which makes no sense. How do you guarantee someone a technology? Medicine is a technology. We can say all day and night, everyone deserves to get treatment, but that would require someone to be available for treatment. So no, it's not. The issue then comes down to this. If you work very, very hard, you pay your taxes and you save up money and you get sick, you can pay for that technology to save your life. If you're not working, unfortunately, you can't. And that may not be your fault. That's why I do believe in social programs, and I am on the left, though I'm not that far left. I think we have to figure out how to help these people and get them to a point where they can earn money and do some kind of program for medical expenses. But the reality is medical treatment is technology, and it's expensive. I do believe the system's very broken with insurance companies and these weird jacked up prices. I get all of that. The core tenet. If we say literally everybody can have access, you have a hospital. The hospital can fit 100 patients. You have 110 people waiting to come in the front door, but you have 1,000 people who live here. You then say anyone can come. It is open. Well, guess what? Now you have 200 more people who couldn't previously now coming in. I understand those people are deserving of healthcare. I absolutely believe that's true. How we can get it to them effectively without hurting hardworking Americans is the challenge. Because if you find yourself in the middle class, you may struggle to pay off your debts when it comes to medical bills, but you can. But when we open the door to everybody, we now have literally everybody rushing and trying to get in. It just means massive wait lists. So it could be worse for the middle class. It'll be, basically it's like this. It's really simple. You've got people in the middle and people in the bottom, and you're going to go like that. That means the lower class is going to gain a decent amount. Not as much as the middle class had, but the middle and upper classes and everyone else will lose out. I do believe a hybrid system makes the most sense. This is why I've talked about why we should do a public option. I don't want to get into a full healthcare thing. I think that's silly. I think we'll move on from this. But the point is, allow people to buy into a government program which allows a competition against the private sector, the private insurance and stuff. And then we can see, a better access. Allow some kind of minimum basic healthcare, right? And then have a private insurance system like normal for the more expensive, scarce treatments, the things that are harder to get. I don't know what the solution is, man. I just know that we can't be a society that allows people to get sick and die in the streets. We can't be a society that has people going bankrupt because they didn't want to die. But I fully acknowledge the important reality Guess what? When we invent a cure for a disease, it might be very expensive. The first cell phone was terrible and expensive. And just because it exists doesn't mean you have a right to have it. Labor and investment went into making that thing exist. So when we get to the point where we can mass produce cures, the price will go down. For the time being, though, we need to consider when it comes to healthcare, if I invent a cure for a disease right now, how is that a human right for anybody if I only have one? Let's say someone in a lab goes, boom, I made one vial, it's a cure of cancer. And they say healthcare is a human right, give that cure to everybody. I can't, I have literally one. Who gets it? Well, it cost $1 billion to make. I want my $1 billion back. You see how it works? People seem to forget that when it comes to healthcare, we're talking about finite resources, technology, and manpower. Same as any industry. But anyway, the point is, Bill Maher slams, so he slams the far left, great. He then goes on to slam Joe Biden too, saying he may be too old for the presidency. And that Senator Kamala Harris wasn't doing well in the polls despite the media attention she's received after debate performances. You get the point. So, Bill Maher said, I'm saying it's a lot easier to be on the center side of things, as Obama was, if you're not a white man, if you're a white straight man, jokingly. He gets it. I can respect Bill Maher ragging on the insanity. I really, really do. I disagree with him a lot of things. I think he's a bit elitist, but fine. But my question is, the takeaway from this segment, is Bill Maher a liberal? Well, he's been accused of not being a liberal. He's been called a phony liberal. He's been called alt-right. And here he is, again, week after week, slamming most of the Democrats. He's got Amy Klobuchar on, praising her. Does it matter? I've praised Democrats. I praised just now Amy Klobuchar. I gave respect to her statement. They still call me conservative. Does it make sense? No, because I'm actively supporting Tulsi Gabbard in this primary cycle, and we'll probably vote for her no matter what. It's fine. And they smear her relentlessly. The point is, if that's look, how long until they say Bill Maher's right wing? Like literally, they know Bill Maher has been grandfathered in as a liberal, and they probably don't like it. As long as he's still there, it makes it hard for them to move. They want to accuse me of being a conservative. Sorry, I'm pretty much on board with like most of Bill Maher's opinions. Oh, but Bill Maher's right wing too. Yeah, not gonna fly with the average American dude. Nuh-uh. The crazy activists can claim all they want, but I'll tell you this: the people who hit me up, the phone calls I have, the people reaching out for to invest or to expand, they're mostly liberals. They're people who like Bill Maher, and they're like, "What's happening?" And I'm like, "I'm right there with you, dude." I'll leave it there. Stick around. One more segment coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.